It's so great to see so many here tonight that are ready to put Canada first, to put Canada first for a change. Only Pierre Poilievre and a new Conservative government can be the change we need in this country in Ottawa. What do you think? Well, just a couple of housekeeping notes before we begin off and kick off tonight. So first of all, people ask me all the time, Dan, how can I help Pierre put Canada first? Well, that's easy. Volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. And in fact, we have so many volunteers who worked really hard for today's rally. Can I get those people just to really stand tall, put your hand up, wave like this? We're so thankful for you tonight. But look around and see those hands, because they can actually help get you signed up to help your local Conservative candidate. So please, talk to one of our volunteers, or you can go online to conservative.ca/volunteer. Again, www.conservative.ca/volunteer. Only if we get everyone working together will we stop Mark Carney and his Liberal Party from a fourth mandate. So what else is there? Share, share, share. What am I talking about? Pierre every day is putting out social media posts. Please like them and share. And if you want to add your own positive comment, it helps get our message out that this country is ready for a government that will put them first for a change. Now, folks, it wouldn't be election unless I hit this last note. Vote, vote, vote. Did you know you can take your valid ID today to a Elections Canada returning office, and you, as long as you know the name of your candidate, your local Conservative candidate, you can vote right away, beat the crowds. Make sure you know who your candidate is. You have to write it on the ballot. But also, our volunteers here can help get you that information today. So remember, we need to get our vote out. Vote, vote, vote. Share, share, share. Volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. And we're going to be moving on pretty quick, but let me just say, Penticton, I love you. You've turned out for Pierre Poilievre. This is amazing. Right now? So if I can ask everyone, if you could please take a stand, let's sing O Canada. O Canada.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm Helena Konanz, and I'm your Conservative candidate for this riding. Thank you so much for coming out. This is incredibly exciting. And again, thanks to everyone who's not quite made it in. You guys are troopers. I want to first thank the Innovation Center. The Innovation Center, that's where we are right now. Did you know hundreds of homes are going to be built where we're standing right now? And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be in here. They worked really hard to allow us to make the space here. So maybe you might want to stop by their center next door, and it's very exciting because it's what we're talking about, building homes for people in Penticton and everywhere throughout Canada. So thank you again. So I have one question for you. That is, well, do you want the Liberals to have 4 more years? No. Okay, because as we know, never again, yes. Great answer. So we know that costs are up for everything. Crime is up, economy is going down, and unfortunately we're under the thumb of America right now, and it's all because of the lost decade of the Liberals that has brought us to this place, and that's why you're all here. It's time to put Canada first for a change. Remember, we're going to axe the tax, right? Axe the tax. Okay, we're also going to build homes. We're going to unleash our resources. We're going to stop crime. And we're going to bring home jobs. This is all we're going to stand up to Trump from a position of strength. The person to deliver this change is Pierre Poilievre. So here to tell you about the only man. Oh, okay. We're going to have a 5-minute break, and then we're going to have a special speaker that we will announce. Thank you. 5 minutes. Here to tell you about the only man who can stop Mark Carney. I have the pleasure of introducing you to Anna Poilievre. Okay, let me tell you a few things about Anna before she comes up. Okay, I know, it got you really excited, didn't I? Okay, Anna is an entrepreneur, dedicated advocate against human trafficking, and a staunch supporter of women's empowerment. She was born in Venezuela and raised in Montreal. Anna moved to Ottawa in 2006, where she met Pierre, and they married in 2017. She's obviously an active member of the Conservative movement and Pierre's #1 supporter. In 2024, she launched Their Stories Matter, an online platform dedicated to giving a voice to survivors of human trafficking. And there's more. Anna is committed to supporting women and elevating them through her online magazine, Pretty and Smart Co., and her Lead Her Forward initiative, which seeks to pay it forward by inspiring, connecting, and elevating women. But she will tell you that her greatest accomplishment and most important roles are being a supportive wife and the proud mother of Valentina and Cruz. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Anna Poilievre.
Penticton, hello, what a pleasure to be here with the entire family. Thank you. Well, Penticton, Canada, here we are in a crucial time where we must decide whether we're going to elect for a fourth time a government that has weakened our economy, left us with unaffordable food and housing, rising crime, and vulnerable in the face of the threats of Donald Trump? Or are we going to elect a conservative government who's going to put Canada first for a change? Well, this journey began for my husband and my family 3 years ago when he decided to run for the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Ever since, my husband has been traveling from coast to coast to coast so that he can step away from the Ottawa bubble and the elite to be on the ground with Canadians and to hear directly from them. Oh boy, did we hear about what's going on the ground. Because what we need, ladies and gentlemen, it's a government of the people, by the people. Leadership is not born in the boardroom of the elite. Leadership is not born from fancy titles and degrees. Leadership is born from the love of our country, true patriotism, our true north, strong and free. I heard that, boots not suits. And yes, my husband has actually been doing this for way more than 3 years. He has been here in Canada all along fighting for our youth, our families, our seniors, everybody. So when Mr. Carney looks down on my husband because he has been here all along, I have to tell him, if you're seeking public office, then you ought to give the respect it deserves, because fighting for Canadians is an honorable endeavor, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I love all of my husband's policies, and I truly believe that they're going to help all of us. But to truly understand the why, you need to know the men and the family behind those policies. My husband, he was born from a teenage mother who gave him out for adoption to 2 school teachers from Saskatchewan. They work really hard and live paycheck to paycheck. Pierre has fought for everything he has. Nothing was given to him. Nothing. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and my family immigrated here in 1995 when I was 8 years old. We lived in the east end of Montreal. It was 6 of us in a tiny 3-bedroom apartment in a basement. My father's first job was to pick up fruits and vegetables. That's all he could do. He eventually had 3 minimum wage jobs at once so that he can help and feed our family. By the time that I was 17, I had left home and I became 100% financially independent. When I turned 19, I left Montreal and moved to Ottawa. I took a student loan, I put myself through university, and I worked full-time at the same time because I had to pay for rent and food for myself. I fought for everything I had. By the time that I was 25, still a single woman, a few months before I met Pierre, I was working in the Senate and I had saved enough money, $25,000, to put a down payment on a little 2-bedroom apartment that was $230,000 back then in the east end of Ottawa. That, ladies and gentlemen, that was 2012, 3 years before the Liberals took office. That was the Canadian promise, that if you work hard, you get ahead, and that's what we're fighting for. So this is who we are. This is who the Poilievre family is, and that is why it is my pleasure to stand side by side with my husband, the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
Penticton, who's ready to save Canada? Who's ready to axe some taxes? Who's ready to build some homes that you can afford to buy? Who's ready to bring home our jobs and resources to stand up to Trump with strength? And who's ready to put Canada first for a change? Wow, what a crowd in beautiful Okanagan, most beautiful place in the world, overflowing. Look at this crowd, unbelievable. You know, I used to like to say that the Okanagan is the best part of Alberta. I know, I'm going to get myself in trouble for joking around like that, but we Albertans love to invade your province. Just in the summer and the winter, we spend a lot of money here, but it's always great to be back in the West. When I was a kid, we used to vacation in Penticton. Yeah, great campground vacations. My little boy and I were just making some plans for our future camping trip here. So you're going to have to give me some good recommendations for sites. When I came here with my dad, I must have been about 10 years old, and they had just invented jet skis. And so I walked to the shore, and I see these kids buzzing around on the jet skis. Of course, I went back to my dad, and I said, you can rent these things. Rent me one. He takes a look at the price, $100 an hour. He says, well, we're not going to rent you that, but there are these little plastic pedal boats. You can have that instead. So I got he rents me this plastic, you know, the yellow ones? So I pedal out in the middle of the lake. And then these rich kids came along with their jet skis and started splashing me and laughing at me. So I pedaled back to the shore, and I told my dad this tragic story. I was a puddle of tears. And he said, well, I'll make you a deal. When you're 16, you're going to have saved up enough money from getting some odds and ends jobs, and we're going to lend you the minivan. You know, one of those Chevy Luminas? They kind of look like a spaceship. We were all embarrassed to have our parents drop us off on those things. Anyway, we'll lend you that. You can pay to gas it up. You can drive back out to BC, and then you can rent yourself a little camp space, and then you can go and rent your own jet ski. And you know, lo and behold, not long after I turned 16, I drove all the way back up. That time I think it was to the Kootenays, and I rented my own little jet ski. But the moral of the story, what my dad was teaching me, is if you want something in life, you got to work for it. You got to work for it. No freebies. No such thing as a free lunch or a free jet ski. But the flip side of that is if you do work hard, you do get nice things. That was the Canadian promise. The Canadian promise was that anyone from anywhere could do anything, that hard work would get you a great life, a nice house, good food, a safe street. That was the promise. That was the deal. But after the lost Liberal decade, and with the help of the NDP, which sold out the people of Okanagan and the Kootenays and signed on to this costly coalition, that promise is now broken. Everything costs more. Food prices rose 37% faster in Canada under the Liberals than it did in the United States. Housing costs have doubled, rising faster than at any time in Canadian history and faster than in any other G7 country. Vancouver is now the third most expensive housing market in the world, by far the worst in all of North America. And for the first time in history, an entire generation of youth cannot even dream of owning a home, as it takes 29 years to save up for a down payment on the average house in Vancouver for the average family. Crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder overtake our once safe streets. And now the Liberals, having caused all this damage, believe that they are entitled to a fourth term in power. A fourth term in power, and the trick that they have pulled is they have replaced Justin Trudeau with his longtime economic advisor and hand-picked successor, Mark Carney, a man who advised Trudeau to print all that money, who said that the carbon tax was not high enough, who believed in blocking pipelines and resource projects, and who now takes advantage of the same tax system to avoid paying his fair share, avoid paying the very same taxes that he forces on all of you. You know, it is really no wonder that Donald Trump has said it would be much easier to deal with the Liberals. He wants them in power because that'll keep Canada's economy weak. He wants to drive all the money out of our country and into his hands, keep us dependent on him. Well, Donald Trump doesn't get to pick our next Prime Minister. Canadians do, and they want to put Canada first for a change. Bring it home. Après 10 ans, bring it home. Après 10 ans des libéraux de Carney-Trudeau, le Canada est affaibli face aux États-Unis. Ils ont ajouté 100 000 fonctionnaires, brisé notre système d'immigration, bloqué nos ressources naturelles, doublé le coût du logement et la dette nationale aussi. Cette économie nous rend affaiblis face aux Américains et menace notre souveraineté. Pour reprendre le contrôle et relancer notre économie, il faut couper les taxes et impôts, livrer nos ressources naturelles, protéger nos pays et défendre notre souveraineté face à Donald Trump. Le Canada vaut la peine qu'on se batte pour lui et c'est seulement avec un changement pour vrai qu'on va le faire. Merci beaucoup, mes amis. And we've made it very clear that we are the only party that has a plan to take back control of our economic future, build a new economic fortress that is strong enough to resist any interference or tariffs from the Americans, that allows Canadians to make their own stuff, trade with each other, build homes for their youth, and restore our strength to stand on our own 2 feet and stand up against the Americans. But before I go any further, I want to tell you I drove a beautiful 2025 Corvette today. I'm just trying to confirm. Did I get this right? It's 670 horsepower? What a rocket. Isn't that incredible? It was amazing. Supercharged, just like we're going to supercharge the Canadian economy. I was over. And we have here some of my fellow teammates. Let's give it up for Dan Albas. Helena Konanz, everybody. And of course, Scott Anderson. There he is. A strong Okanagan team that's going to give people back control of their economic lives, that are going to defend the Okanagan in Ottawa rather than defending Ottawa in the Okanagan. They share our plan for a bring-it-home economic agenda. Bring it home, I use that term a lot, for 2 reasons. 1, because we want to bring back the paychecks and production that Liberals have driven south. 2, because we want you to bring home more of each dollar you earn. So let's start with our plan to cut taxes on work, investment, energy, and home building. That will unlock the potential of our economy. Right now, taxes are smothering our people. Take income tax. It's the fine you pay for the crime of working hard. You know, I love talking about this meme where there's a kid asking his dad, "What's a tax for?" And Dad says, "Well, it's the same as your report card, except exactly the opposite. The harder you work, the worse you do. The more you contribute, the more you pay. No good deed goes unpunished these days." In fact, Canadians are now spending more on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined. And this is after 10 years of the Liberals, during which time Mark Carney was the economic advisor telling Justin Trudeau to spend even more money. And throughout this campaign, Carney has added billions of dollars of new spending promises that he would add on top of the already morbidly obese government we have devouring all our money in Ottawa today. We need an exact opposite to that. And that is why I am going to stand up and fight back for the working people and the seniors with a 15% income tax cut, so your hard work actually pays off. We have some hardworking people in the room. You want to keep some more of your money? Well, we also have to cut taxes on investment. Canada gets only about 55 cents per worker in investment for every dollar America gets. If you take the total number of investment dollars for all of Canada, divide it by the total number of workers, it's about 15 grand investment per worker. In the States, it's 28 grand. In other words, our workers, who are better than the American workers, are not getting the same tools, technology, warehouses, machinery that their American competitors are. Why? Because we punish investment in Canada with high taxes and very slow approvals. So it's a terrible place right now, after the lost Liberal decade, to get a return on your investment. Taxes mean that when you sell one old asset to buy a new one, you get hit with high capital gains tax, which the Liberals wanted to raise even further. This does particular damage here in the Okanagan, which is overflowing with brilliant entrepreneurs and small businesses who like to build things, invent things, fix things, move things. To unlock all of that investment and inject some rocket fuel in our economy, I have announced what I call the Canada First Reinvestment Tax Cut. Zero capital gains tax if you reinvest the money in Canada. Yep. And then there's the carbon tax. Anybody heard of that? The Liberals brought in the tax, kept raising it for 7 years, told us that the entire planet was going to be lit ablaze if we didn't pay more and more carbon tax. The only disagreement Mark Carney had was he didn't think the tax was high enough. And now they pulled another fast one. 28 days before the election, they're hiding the tax from the pumps in the hope that you'll forget that it's still the law of the land. And within 24 hours of forming government again, God forbid, they would simply put that tax back on and raise it higher than ever before. Furthermore, Mr. Carney says he wants a higher carbon tax on our industries. Another thing that he and Donald Trump share in common, they both want to tax Canadian industry. Trump through tariffs, Carney through a carbon tax. I want neither. And that is why I have announced that I will axe the carbon tax on everything, for everyone, for real, for good, for a change. Axe the tax. And then we're going to axe the worst tax of all, the inflation tax. The inflation tax. We know what that is. It's when the government wants to take and spend more of your money, but they don't want to be accountable for raising the cash the honest way. They don't hold a vote in the House of Commons to increase tax rates. What they do is run massive deficits paid for by central bank money printing. Flooding the economy with easy cash might seem like a lot of fun in the short run. It's kind of like taking a big old vacation to Vegas on your credit card. It's fun while it lasts, but of course the bill comes soon enough. But when they print all that money, here's what happens. They don't increase the stuff that money buys. So if you have an economy with 10 apples and $10, I don't know apples. Do you have apples around here? The best apples in the world, eh? Nice ambrosios. Do you know that I actually enjoyed an apple in the Okanagan at one point? Oh my goodness. I never got any royalty or anything for the extra exposure we got for the apples here. Oh my goodness. Lots of fun. But let's say you have 10 apples and you have $10. It's going to be $1 an apple in that economy. You double the number of dollars to 20, but you still only get 10 apples. You're not twice as rich. It's just that each apple now costs twice as much. So the Liberals increased the money supply from $1.8 trillion to $2.5 trillion. That's an increase of 40% during a time period when the real economy grew by 4%. So the money was growing 10 times faster than the stuff that money buys. This caused the worst inflation in 40 years. Now, the people who got the money out of the starting gate, the banking system, the big government bureaucracy, they all benefited because they got to spend it before it lost its value. But then the costs all trickled down to you. And so your paycheck and pension were worth less. That's why the costs kept rising. Trudeau did this all with Mark Carney's enthusiastic advice. Carney said if we didn't print money, we'd have deflation. His worry was that prices might actually go down. God forbid things become more affordable. But that's how the inflationist Liberals think. So here's how we're going to get rid of the inflation tax. We have to stop the out-of-control spending in Ottawa that causes it in the first place. We're going to cut back on the bureaucratic waste, the pricey consultants, the handouts to corporate insiders. We'll cut foreign aid that goes to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracy. We'll bring in a common sense dollar-for-dollar law that every time the government brings in $1 of new spending, we have to get rid of $1 to pay for it so that we balance it out. We find bargains, try to maximize use of scarce resources. In that way, we can manage down the cost of the government, the inflation, and the taxes so that your purchasing power grows rather than shrinking, and that we respect the honest dollars that you have earned. But to do that, we also need to bring homes that people can afford. How are the housing prices here? That cannot be true. The Liberals promised affordable housing. You're telling me the Liberals broke their promise on housing? Well, they're now making exactly the same promises. After the lost Liberal decade of doubling housing costs, now Mark Carney is coming out promising exactly the same programs that Trudeau brought in, only bigger and more expensive. Did you get this? He wants to bring in a $35 billion federal government home building corporation. I mean, these guys can't even figure out how to deliver a passport, and they think that a bunch of government bureaucrats are going to build prefab tiny houses with no parking spaces, because of course you're not allowed to have a car anymore. We have people who know how to build homes. We don't need government bureaucrats to do that for us. The problem is that government is standing in the way. The Liberals have inflated housing prices with out-of-control money printing and immigration that drove up demand, while they funded bureaucracies that block home building and suppress supply. What do you know? When the population and the money supply grows 3 times faster than the number of homes, prices get bid up pretty quick, an entire generation can't find a place to live. So we must reverse exactly the Liberal policies that caused the problem. My common sense plan will slash bureaucracy and taxes on home building, starting with axing the federal sales tax to save you $65 grand on a new home. We'll incentivize our municipalities to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development charges so that we can build our homes more quickly. We'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build. We will cap immigration so that our population never outgrows our housing stock, the availability of health care and jobs ever again. And we're going to bring home our jobs to this country again. After the lost Liberal decade, where they drove away $500 billion investment dollars south of the border with high taxes and the worst building permits in the G7. We need a change. We cannot allow a fourth Liberal term of rising costs and crime and a falling economy under America's thumb. We need a new Conservative government that will put Canada first for a change by bringing our jobs home. And that means unleashing our mighty resource sector to build pipelines, mines, mills, factories, LNG plants. We have the second slowest building permits anywhere in the developed world. This blocks us from building things. The Liberals brought in C-69, the unconstitutional, no new pipelines, anti-development law. According to the 14 biggest and most important energy companies in this country, as long as Bill C-69 is in place, we will never again build a pipeline or an LNG plant. And this means that we will forever be dependent on the Americans for our economic future. Let me show you how crazy it is. Right now, we are giving Americans our oil $14 below the world price. Why? Because we have no other customers and they know it. We can't sell our oil anywhere else in the world. In fact, we can't even sell our oil to ourselves. The Western Canadian oil that goes to Quebec and Ontario has to travel through 2 American pipelines. So that if ever the trade war got serious enough, the Americans could cut us off from our own energy supply. I mean, it would be bad enough for them to cut us off from things they have that we need. But can you imagine being so helpless and economically vulnerable that other countries can tell us what we sell ourselves? That is the result of Liberals blocking pipelines with their keep-it-in-the-ground ideology. Now, make no mistake, do not be fooled by the banker's haircut and the fancy corporate suit. Mark Carney is 100% against our energy sector. He said that we will have to leave 80% of our proven oil reserves in the ground. He announced he supports C-69, and he opposed the Northern Gateway pipeline, which would take our energy from Alberta through BC and off to Asia. My friends, we are going to reverse the lost Liberal decade. We will repeal C-69. We will rapidly approve pipelines that are built by Canadian workers using Canadian steel to take Canadian energy to ourselves and the world. We will pass something new called the shovel-ready zones. Here's how they'll work. We'll sit down with all the levels of government. We'll find the best place to put pipelines, mines, LNG plants, data centers, and then we'll draw a circle around it. We'll do all the studies, all the consultations, and get all the permits pre-approved so that we say to the businesses, here's the permit, here's the standards, here's the specifications. Now, go build. There's no delaying. You like that? Look at this little girl. Who is this little girl? What's your name? What's your name? Avery. And what brought you here today, Avery?
To help the country.
To help. She's even got a wonderful handshake. I think we have a future Prime Minister right here in Avery. What a brilliant, is that the proud dad over there? Who's that? Who's this? This is mom? Yeah. How did she learn about politics at this age? Oh, there you go. That's exciting. Avery, where do you live? Are you in Penticton? Canada. You live in Canada. That's definitely true. Good girl. And you're proud to be Canadian? Tell everyone you're proud to be a Canadian. Well, who's this guy? Bonjour, Cruz. Ça va bien? Oh, il est gêné. He's very shy, too. You should meet Avery. You two have a lot to talk about. All right. Way to go, guys. Wow. That's the future right there, everybody. That's what we're fighting for. Wow. That's great. That's exciting. What an exciting future we have for these kids. We're going to be building things in this country. We're going to give them an incredible future. We're going to show them that this is a nation of boundless opportunity. And we're going to tell them, you know what I tell all the young people today? Get a trade. Get into the trades. Amazing. The best jobs are going to be for the tradespeople. All the government money, though, is going exclusively to non-trades related education, which is all great. I went to university. I love it. I recommend it for anyone who favors that option. But we need to make sure that the trades get the fair share. We need the people who know how to build stuff, make stuff, fix stuff, move stuff. What's your trade? I see a tradesman back. Heavy-duty mechanic. Right on. You're going to be a very busy man when I'm Prime Minister. There's going to be a lot of work for you to do. A lot of work for you to do. You're going to be building LNG plants. Like, I'm talking tens of billions of dollars of LNG plants. We're going to be liquefying the gas in British Columbia. You're going to be the one delivering all the heavy equipment, making sure those big monster machines that we need for the energy sector are there. What other trades do we have here? What do we have? What do we got, sir? What's that? An HVAC. Excellent. Anybody who likes to breathe likes an HVAC guy. We got a military veteran here. That's a... Give him a round of applause. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And what's your trade? You own this land. What's your name again? Sir. What's your name? Charan Sethi. Good to meet you, Charan Sethi. Rocky, what a name. I love that name. Are you a boxer, Rocky? What do you do, Rocky? Okay, Rocky's going to build some homes. But we need tradespeople. We need tradespeople, right, to build those homes. And that's why Canada First Conservatives are going to sponsor 350,000 training spots to get our young apprentices trained up, red sealed, and ready to work. Boots, not suits. Boots, not suits. We're going to bring back the $4,000 apprenticeship grant that the Liberals got rid of in the end of March. And we're going to make sure that our tradespeople get tax fairness. You know, right now, a CEO can write off his private jet, and he can fly all around the world in endless flights with a full write-off. But the tradesman who goes from, let's say, Penticton to Fort Mac or off to Timmins to work in a gold mine can only write off $4,000 for the whole year. Well, some of these guys fly across the country 15, 20 times a year. That's why I've announced we're going to bring in the Tax Fairness for a Traveling Trades Workers Act so you can write off the full cost of food, transportation, and accommodation. We'll also harmonize the rules. Right now, the tradespeople have to redo their health and safety course every time they move across provincial boundaries. This is bonkers. They already took the course in the other province. Now they have to do 4 days of unpaid retraining. It's ridiculous. Line up the training the way we did with the Red Seal already. Once you're trained, you can do the job. Let's align it so that our trades workers can travel freely across our great country. Common sense for a change. And so the choice in the election is, after the lost Liberal decade of blocking our resources, taxing our workers, and driving our billions of dollars into the hands of the Americans, do they deserve a fourth Liberal term, or is it time for a new Conservative government that will put Canada first by bringing home our resource jobs and blue-collar work? We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I'm getting a lot of very helpful suggestions from the crowd. This is a very helpful crowd. Very smart people. First of all, 3,000 people in Penticton. Overflowing crowd. And it's not just the size of the crowd. It's the quality. They're a charming crowd, a good-looking crowd, an intelligent crowd. The great people here in Penticton. And, you know, we have people here that should, unfortunately, that don't have a family doctor. 6 million people in Canada with no family doctor. Anybody without a family doctor? Do you know, this is gonna make your blood boil. Do you know we have 20,000 immigrant doctors and 32,000 immigrant nurses who cannot practice even though they're qualified? So when I went to get my eye surgery done, the technician is an eye doctor, but only in the UAE. So he flies over to the UAE, does 10 days of surgeries, and then he comes back to Canada. We only let him work as a technician. 85% of Filipino nurses in Canada cannot work in Canada, whereas in the States, they can take a test in 2 weeks to an international standard and get working in their hospitals. We have a solution to this. We did it in the trades in 1952, and it's worked for 7 decades. It's called the Red Seal. Let's bring in a blue seal so that we can license up the qualified doctors, and everybody can have a family doctor and nurses in their emergency room. More paychecks, more health care, more opportunity for all. But we want those people to bring their paychecks home to safe communities. So we have to stop the crime. Is there any crime in Penticton? Yeah. After 10 long years of catch and release, hug-a-thug liberal laws, violent crime is raging out of control. It's up 50%. Gun crime up 116%, more than double. Drug overdoses are pouring onto our streets and showing up in these terrible tent cities where many of our loved ones are losing their lives. My friends, the obvious cause of this is the radical liberal agenda on crime, which Mark Carney continues to support. C-75, the catch and release bail law, which requires judges release offenders at, quote, the earliest opportunity under, quote, the least restrictive conditions. Often they are released before the police have even done the paperwork on the arrest. In Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. That means the average offender was arrested once every 2 days, every day, all year long. And those were just the times that they got caught. Now, you can think if you're getting arrested every 2 days, you've got to be working at it nonstop. You've got to be up at the crack of dawn to rob a bank and carjack by noon and sell fentanyl on the corner. And these guys, yeah, they're never stop working, and they're not unionized. They have no benefits. They do have housing, temporary housing. They go in, they have a meal, maybe they stay overnight, and then they leave. But it's like the Hotel California. They check out, but they never really leave, right? When I was in Penticton about 1.5 years ago, they told me about this guy named Levi. Anybody know him? Is Levi here tonight? He's busy. He's got a job. So apparently Levi does so much crime that when he's out of jail, he raises the crime rate for the entire city of Penticton. That's what the police told me. And everybody knows this guy, too. So maybe it's time we leave Levi in jail? What do you think? Then there's the C5, which is the house arrest law. So you can be a rampant career car thief, caught hundreds of times, and you're sentenced to hang out in your living room for a few years, watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto, until you get up, walk out the door, and just steal another car. And then you've got C83, which allows Paul Bernardo out of a maximum security penitentiary into medium security. My friends, the radical liberal catch and release agenda will only go on if they get a fourth term. But we will, conservatives, a new conservative government, will put law-abiding citizens first for a change. We will repeal C75 catch and release, repeal C5 house arrest, repeal the soft on Bernardo C83. We will bring in jail, not bail. No one who has been convicted of multiple offenses will be eligible for bail, probation, parole, or house arrest. It will be jail, not bail, and our streets will once again be safe. And then we'll get to that too. You guys have lots of great subject matter. I still got to get to this guy. This guy over here had a question about gun crime. About gun crime. Raging out of control. You know, the Liberals, first of all, they allow 99% of shipping containers to enter our country uninspected. They don't even allow CBSA to monitor our border in between official border crossings, so anyone can walk in or send a drone over. 82% of gun crime is committed by people who have illegal American guns. And the Liberal solution to all of this is to ban Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle. You know, someone who has a restricted possession and acquisition license, or a PAL, is the least likely person to commit a crime. Because criminals don't tend to go out and get a license for a gun, right? Don't say on the way to rob a bank, well, I better get my PAL before I do it, because it's against the law not to. The people who have registered or restricted licenses or PALs, they have RCMP background checks, extensive training. They've been tested. They have to follow safe storage rules. They're the most legally compliant people you will ever meet. So my plan, here's my plan. We're going to ban gun criminals instead of banning licensed, law-abiding Canadians. We will secure our ports with 2,000 more frontline CBSA officers. We'll have high-powered scanners that can look into shipping containers to intercept drugs, guns, stolen cars, and more. We'll have watchtowers that can surveil the entire span of our border, and we will pay for it by canceling the ridiculous multi-billion-dollar liberal gun grab on licensed hunters and sport shooters. And then there's the drugs. 50, what's that? Fentanyl. Fentanyl, hard fentanyl. Do you have fentanyl here? It's everywhere. Well, BC has been ground zero for the most radical liberal experiments. They brought in, well, the thing is, he says stop it at the port. The Liberals didn't want to stop it. They signed on with the provincial NDP government to not only decriminalize crack, heroin, cocaine, and illicit fentanyl, but also to use taxpayer money to subsidize the distribution of hydromorphone, which I said years ago was being resold to kids in order to buy more powerful fentanyl. And all of them said that I was wrong. They demonized me for pointing it out. Well, now the evidence is in. This liberal experiment has been absolutely lethal. The overdose rate has risen by 300% in BC. In fact, British Columbia is the fentanyl overdose capital of the world, precisely because this is the province that most enthusiastically embraced the radical liberal agenda on drugs. And when Mark Carney came here, he said, fentanyl is not even a crisis in Canada. And of course, he will never stand up against the fentanyl suppliers in China because he, through his company, owes a $250 million loan to a Chinese state-directed bank. He will never stand up against the suppliers because he is profiting from investments in a company that is linked to China. My friends, enough is enough. We will reverse the radical liberalization. We will ban hard drugs. We will bring in life sentences for mass fentanyl dealers and producers. We will stop giving out taxpayer-funded hydromorphone. Instead, we will put the money into treatment, rehabilitation, and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free. We're gonna back up those wonderful treatment centers that bring young people off the street, detox them, offer counseling, group therapy, physical exercise, yoga, sweat lodges for First Nations, job placement and housing to get them back on their feet, reestablish their connections with their families, help them to take responsibility for their kids and repair the damage that's been done in their lives. Our message to every single person out there is that if you're struggling with addiction, hang on, have hope, help is on the way. We're going to reestablish our freedom in this country. We're going to be the freest country in the world. We're going to give people back control of their lives. We're going to remember that we don't work for anyone in Davos or Manhattan or any other faraway place. We work for Canadians first. We will repeal the censorship law C-11 so Canadians can speak freely. And we will remember that if we have freedom, it is only because of the courageous men and women in uniform who defend it each and every day. We will fund our military, fill all the vacancies, recruit our soldiers, sailors, and airmen. We are going to have 4 new massive icebreakers that are going to bust up the ice and keep our dominance over our Arctic waters. We will have new fighter jets, new Poseidons, new landing strips in the north. And we will have the very first Canadian base in the Arctic since the Cold War, CFB Iqaluit. We'll massively expand the cadet corps as well. Do you have the cadets here? Yeah, the cadets. Any cadets? We need more kids in the cadets. Learn how to fly a plane, get your flight hours in, learn how to learn outdoor survivalism, riflery, discipline, warriors, that's right. In fact, our entire military will be rebuilt with a warrior culture, not a woke culture. And we will honor our history again. We will put up our statues. We will recognize our heroes, including John A. Macdonald, the founding Prime Minister of Canada. The reason why the radical Liberals want us to forget our history is because you cannot control your future unless you know your past. We know that you need to understand history. We need to inculcate the great lessons that are passed down to us. This country of ours, these blessings we enjoy, it didn't just fall out of the sky. It didn't happen out of overnight. It's based on 800 years of tradition that goes back to the fields of Runnymede in England. That's where we got our system of freedom under the law, of parliamentary democracy from. It took hard work from a lot of people who are not here anymore. It's one thing to criticize the decisions made in the past. It's also one thing to say that we've never been a perfect country. But we should be grateful for this country, and we should honor its proud history and the people who made it possible. And so we're going to put the famous five, Terry Fox, our soldiers, and all of our other heroes back in the passport. We will once again be a self-reliant, strong, sovereign people that harvests its resources, trades with each other, builds homes for its youth, protects its vulnerable, secures its borders, honors its elders, and looks forward with optimism to the future. We are not a nation of tax collectors and toll masters, of bureaucrats and busybodies, of gatekeepers and grandees, rulers and rule makers. No, we are a nation of adventurers and artists, explorers and entrepreneurs, workers and warriors, pioneers and patriots. We will build on what binds all of us together is the Canadian promise, that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything. And so that promise goes out today to everybody who's listening. If you are that single mom who will go to bed hungry tonight wondering how you'll feed your kids in the morning, have hope. Change is on the way. If you are the 55-year-old couple who doesn't know where your 20-year-old has gone, having been addicted to drugs, hang on. Help is on the way for you too. We're going to bring your child back. If you are that military veteran wondering how you're going to be able to pay the rent for the rest of your life, have hope. Change is on the way. You will be thanked for your service. And to all of those who believe in Canada but wonder what happened to our country, I'm here to say that change is coming. We are going to restore the Canadian promise so that anyone who works hard gets a great life in a beautiful house on a safe street, protected by brave troops under our proud Canadian flag. Canada first, let's bring it home!